Christ, man.
Were you getting a ticket for interfering with the traffic?
How did I interfere? She almost ran me off the f***ing road.
And you could have pulled off and waited and called.
I did wait when she said wait.
You were out here talking to her. Have a seat.
Mr. Kern, just
Don't push me, man.
Have a seat.
Why are you so full of machismo, man?
Dude, have a seat. I'm not putting up your okay? Have a seat.
What's wrong with you, man?
Have a seat.
I'm sitting down.
All the way in.
why are they like, was that necessary?
Hi, I'm Ian Runkle, also known as Runkle of the Bailey. In today's video, we're reacting to I'm just following orders. I'm just doing what my supervisor said. I'm just following orders is almost never a good excuse, so let's see what we're dealing with.
Asking you to identify yourself so I can let my dispatcher know who I'm out with. If you don't identify yourself, that is obstruction.
What crime did I commit?
Sometimes not identifying yourself can be obstruction, but not always. And he's asking the key question, what crime did I commit?
There's no crime, but I'm identifying you. Okay.
How come he knows the law better than she does?
I'm cool with this. Okay, I mean, I'm cool with letting him go. I didn't understand.
He's in handcuffs.
And he's being a jerk.
He obstructed. He refused to identify himself. I'm not going to sit out here and argue with somebody for an hour the legalities of it. You can come to court.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a bad look. I was just gonna let him go. No, we got him in handcuffs. That's a terrible reason to complete an arrest.
Well, no, that's fine. You can call for backup for any reason at all.
He was upset, rightfully so. It was not... Why are they assholes?
Mr. Kern, who was rightfully upset, wanted to talk to Officer Lewis about her driving behavior. He pulls over and parks several feet behind the patrol vehicle, and this is where the video begins.
Now, that's just a terrible plan. You going to confront a police officer about their driving behavior? Really, going to confront anybody about their driving behavior is risky, because you see a lot of situations where somebody goes to confront somebody about you're a bad driver, and it turns violent. That's always a risky thing. With a police officer, there's additional risk, because there's the risk of violence, but there's also the risk of them using the legal system against you. Usually your life is going to be better if you can just let things go. With a police officer, if you really want to make an issue of it, take down their vehicle number and file a complaint.
81 radio, stand by. It's going to be on Mayfield across from the first access road. Send me another unit because another party does not know how to yield to lights and sirens, and he's sitting here reporting me. Stay down, look at him off the road.
So she says, send another unit because another vehicle doesn't know how to respond to lights and sirens. And he says, I almost ran him off the road. He's sitting there recording me. We'll see how this goes. Because they each have very different versions of what happened here.
It's important to note
car
that
are we
once
going to care
Officer
about
Lewis
here?
informed Mr. Kern that she would be with him in a moment, he waited off to the side on the sidewalk. Mr. Kern did not interfere with the stop, nor did he say anything to Officer Lewis while her attention was on the driver she pulled over.
I apologize.
You almost ran me off the road.
I initiated my lights and sirens.
I didn't hear anything.
What, was your music on?
One thing I will note is that when you turn on those sirens, you're going to hear the sirens differently depending on where you are. You've got the Doppler effect, but also it can be hard to hear the sirens when they're next to you. It's actually the hardest place to hear the sirens. So it is possible she turned on the sirens and he didn't hear them. She should be aware of that as well. It sounds like maybe she didn't properly shoulder check before she started her maneuvers.
Abruptly. Okay, I'm not wrong. The lights and sirens were activated. Okay, I did not do that, sir.
While Officer Lewis walks over to Mr. Kern's vehicle and runs his tag information, Sergeant Wolf, who is the supervisor, briefly talks with Mr. Kern.
See, already this guy is in a bigger altercation than he wanted. He walks away from this, there was no collision, there's no anything like that, and now she's running his plates, and maybe that comes up with something, and this guy's having further interactions. This has become a big deal. They have all of the cards on their side. They have all of the advantages. He's got nothing. He's got no advantages here.
You call back up for your safety, but
Well, you don't pull up behind an officer on a traffic stop.
you don't even know what's going on.
You're right, I don't.
So why are you saying it?
Because I'm here, and what you're doing right now is against the
You
law.
almost ran me off the road.
How is it against the law? Is there a law that says he can't be near a traffic stop? He didn't interfere with the traffic stop, so I'm not following the logic here.
Okay, well, then you should have pulled over for lights and sirens. She said it on the radio that you didn't yield. And it's on dash cam, I'm assuming.
Just a disconnect, man.
Sir,
I'll tell you what, let her finish her business, and then we can sit down and talk.
we're good. I'm gonna let him go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was your last name?
My last name?
Yeah.
Why you need my last name?
because I'm asking who I'm talking to.
We're good. I'm going to let him go. This is the point to walk away.
You asked me who you were talking to.
You're not, well, not going to be under arrest because what you're doing is illegal.
Listen,
What you're doing is illegal. I can charge you for interfering.
just give me your lesson.
So the officer right now is really amping this up. This is the kind of person who shouldn't be a cop because this is exactly the wrong approach. This is a confrontation that they should be de-escalating, not escalating. This officer wants a fight. He wants a confrontation, and that's not what we want from officers.
Why?
Because I'm conducting business with you right
I'm
now.
not being detained. Where am I free to go?
10-4, that's not
That's not
going
how
to
it
be good
works. What's your
drive.
RS?
Stand by.
What's your reasonable articulate
Okay.
suspicion of my crime?
I'm going to get rid of him.
Hold on, I'll explain to you. Okay?
I'm going to get rid of him. That's exactly what they should be doing here. Just say, hey, buddy, on your way. Sorry this happened. You know, it wasn't intended. Can you get out of here now? Problem solved.
Am I being detained?
Right
Am
now.
I being detained?
If you want to be doing what you're doing right now.
No, sir. She almost ran me off the road.
Okay. Again, you didn't yield to lights and siren. You came out.
She was next to me and stopped and almost ran me off the fucking road. What are you talking about?
Listen.
Yeah, this is the problem, is that this guy has some anger. He's got some frustration, and that's understandable, but in traffic, those are emotions that can get you into a lot of trouble. With police, they can get you into this sort of thing, but this is also the ingredients of road rage incidents, of people getting all sorts of things. So we've got two personalities here, both of whom are not going to back down, and one is really keen to make this into a fight.
You asked my reasonable articulable suspicion. It's not a
I'm not
probable
under
cause.
arrest. If you arrest me, you violate my rights.
I don't want to arrest you. We have to
You're
ID
going to
you.
violate my rights. That's what you're going to do?
Okay, we have to ID you. You understand that? Yeah.
And this is a mistake police officers make all the time. We have to ID you in situations where they don't have to ID somebody and where they don't have the grounds to demand identification.
Yes, we do.
All right, I'm going to videotape you.
Okay, we got you on camera
I'm
too.
going to call. They can come get the car. You're violating my rights.
Come getting. Who's getting what car?
They can come. You're going to
Ready on another car here. I got a male who's obstructing.
No, I'm not.
And, he refuses to identify himself.
No.
So I'll take a report on it, but I need your ID.
No.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with her.
He's like, I want to deal with the reasonable cop. Sadly, you don't get to choose. Right now, this guy's here and he's decided he's taking control. Okay, we're going to go over the law. Excellent.
Ohio Revised Code 2921.29 states no person who is in a public place shall refuse to disclose a person's name, address, or date of birth when requested by a law enforcement officer who reasonably suspects either of the following. 1. The person is committing, has committed, or is about to commit a criminal offense. Mr. Kern was not a witness to any felony crime, so Section 2 does not apply. However, both Sergeant Wolf and Officer Lewis intimidates Mr. Kern for his information.
It's really interesting that they can demand identification from a witness. That's not the case everywhere.
Just do me a favor. All I'm asking you,
I'm a private citizen.
just take your hands out of your pocket while we're talking.
Right.
Okay, I called for backup, all right?
Yeah.
I initiated a traffic stop. I understand you and I and that gentleman, we all just saw what happened, okay? I'm calling for another person because I'm dealing with one person who I don't know who I'm dealing with. And you get out, listen, sir, let me speak. Let me explain to you. I call for another person because I have a man getting out of a car walking towards me. You know how society is. I know how society is. Now listen.
And this is really the concern. She doesn't know who this guy is. She doesn't know if maybe these two guys are gangsters and he's sort of the follow car. That's a concern. She's got two people to worry about. Of course, she's going to end up calling somebody else in. But that doesn't mean that this guy is actually a danger. She seems to have concluded that he's not a danger now. Really time to just send him on his way.
Right.
I'm asking you to identify yourself so I can let my dispatcher know who I'm out with. If you don't identify yourself, that is obstruction. You
No, it's not.
are the one that came
Obstruction
out.
is a secondary crime.
It's
What crime did I commit?
There's no crime, but I'm
So there's no crime, I
I'm
don't need to
identifying you. Okay.
Thank you.
I need your driver license.
Look, man, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to arrest you if you don't identify yourself.
Again, this is really, now they want to sort of press him for this. Where I am, they could have gotten him to identify just based on the fact that he was driving a car. But this is just purely for bullying. That's all they're doing. They want to get this guy into compliance. They want to get him in line. Really, they should just say, get out of here. Go. We're dealing with this other car. Please just leave.
She just said it was no crime.
Listen.
Obstructing is a
What?
crime.
Obstructing is a crime.
Identify yourself, cuz.
She almost ran me off the road.
And then I still have to identify it.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I'm gonna call anything in the car. You can arrest me.
Okay, turn around.
Because I didn't do anything.
Okay, turn around.
You can arrest me, and they'll call that bluff. They will absolutely take you up on that.
I didn't do anything.
Listen, just all you have to do
I don't have my ID with me.
Okay, what's your social?
Date of birth, that's what we asked for.
For what?
Because I need to let the dispatcher know. It's not a big deal.
Mr. Kern provides his information even though he was not legally required to do so.
What's your last name, sir?
Kern, man.
Kern?
You know what happened. Why are you letting him do this?
He's a sergeant.
He's violating my rights.
He is not. He didn't
He's a sergeant. Oh, that's a terrible reason.
We're going to give you a
identify
ticket when we
yourself.
send you on your way. You have a valid driver's license?
Yeah, dude, you violate my rights, man.
Yeah, we're getting a ticket for interfering with the traffic.
How did I interfere? She almost ran me off the road.
Mr. Kern, just
Don't push me, man.
Have a seat.
Why are you so full of machismo, man?
Both of them have been really looking to have a disagreement, but really the officer is above and beyond in terms of just, he wants a fight. He wants to be in control. He wants to show that he is in charge. Doesn't like having that questioned at all, and that's a very dangerous thing to deal with. If you find yourself interacting with an officer like this, you should be aware that you are in danger. This is a risk.
What's wrong with you, man?
Have a
I'm
seat.
sitting down.
All the way in.
So this is what happened. That vehicle matched the description of the vehicle from Weird Shit yesterday.
Okay.
I saw it. I initiated a traffic stop. That person, instead of like pulling over, he stopped abruptly. And I'm getting behind him, but he stopped abruptly. This guy was very close to him, and we almost did get into an accident.
Real quick, I just wanted to say that Attorney Tom / Attorney Reacts content is now on Spotify. We just launched a partnered show, link in the description. Go check it out. Now, back to the video.
So she's acknowledging that really she shouldn't have been where she was. That fact pattern that she's describing, she did improper driving. She endangered the guy who's sitting in the back of the police car right now. And her duty is not to endanger the public.
Because that driver stopped so abruptly. I did, yes.
Gets a ticket for
He gets a ticket for, let me think. I got this. It's not an exam. It's not like, hey, what do you write a ticket for? It's, if you can't answer that question, if you're going, he gets a ticket for, then it's time to put the ticket book away and let him out of your car with maybe another apology. And he can give you some tips on how to apologize. He's already had some great pointers on that. But it is time to back yourself up here, officer.
He's getting a ticket for
Radio 1, if you need to bring back on that,
failure
yes, I have
to
it.
emergency vehicle.
Yes, I do. That's why I provided
It
it.
was to it.
So you get the ticket and then you can come to the fight.
Listen, I don't feel I need to give him a ticket for that. I'm
Well, then
cool
he
with
got
just...
for obstructing.
Okay, I mean, I'm cool with letting him...
And the sergeant at this point knows he's put this guy in cuffs and has put him in the back of a police car. He does not want to let this guy out now. Once you have been put in cuffs and all of that, the chances that they're just going to say, oh, sorry, this was a big misunderstanding, go way down, because he has to justify you having been put in cuffs. And the easiest way for them to justify that, to explain that this was something that they're allowed to do, is they arrest you for something.
Go. I didn't understand.
He's in handcuffs.
And he's being a jerk.
He obstructed. He refused to identify himself. I'm not going to sit out here and argue with somebody for an hour the legalities of it. You can come to court.
Okay.
So he gets a ticket for obstructing failure to identify himself.
Oh, because you don't want to argue about it. Our system is broken because the courts should hammer this kind of behavior and weed out officers who think like this, who think that it's easier to trammel over people's rights than it is to figure things out at the roadside. But nope, he's right. It's easier for the officer to send this guy to court and cause him all these problems.
You guys got a
Mr.
lawsuit
Kern,
coming.
just hang on.
You got a lawsuit coming.
Listen, let me explain to you. You don't get out of the car yet. The sergeant wants me to give you a ticket for obstruction, okay? I'm not going to do anything else. Listen, he's the boss. He is the boss.
And she knows it's wrong. Anytime you're in this situation of, I know I'm doing something wrong, but I'm being told to do it, don't do it. Make the stand. Stand up for something that matters, which in this case is the civil rights of the public. Be the better person.
I don't have to refuse if I didn't commit a crime. This isn't a stop and ID state.
At this point, it is a traffic stop.
You guys are going to pay for this.
That's fine.
Officer Lewis changes her story multiple times regarding what happened on the road. Unfortunately, Mr. Kern could not provide me with any video from his Tesla, citing the feature wasn't active at the time.
Didn't she call it a Porsche? Vehicle identification is an important skill for officers because if you call in a report of a Porsche, maybe you want it to actually be a Porsche and not a Tesla?
Mr. Kern, I apologize. I really do.
Then don't do it. That's the thing.
And this is on body cam, all right? This is, the sergeant's telling me to do this, so
you know it's wrong, so don't do it. In law, you're always accountable for your own actions. If I, as a lawyer, go in and say, my client tells me to do this, and the thing I'm doing is unethical or illegal, then the court will not forgive me. If I say I'm a junior lawyer and the partner has instructed me to do something and it's unethical or illegal, I am going to get slammed. It should be the same for police officers. What she's acknowledging here is that she doesn't have the moral fortitude to do what's right in the face of another officer, which means that if there's another officer who is, say, assaulting somebody without cause, she's not going to have the courage to do the right thing there either.
Did I break the law?
police have to identify you. You do have to identify yourself.
This is so basic that the fact that these officers don't know what the law here is really a tragic failure of police education. They should be teaching every officer this. They should be doing drills of when can you demand this? When can you not demand this? Because this is really critical. This is basic, fundamental stuff.
The law. If I broke the law, I have to identify.
There will be a court date. You and I will both go to it. And our prosecutor's really good and we'll work through it, okay?
And then there'll be another court date when he sues you. And I hope that court date goes well too.
Listen, I'm just doing what I'm told to do, alright?
That is a terrible reason for anything. Unless you understand why you're doing something, you shouldn't be doing it.
What do I put for this verbiage? When asked to identify himself, he refused.
So, just for my own. You activated your override.
So we're literally here, and I'm coming up because I saw that car. It looked like a car from yesterday's incident.
Officer Coffee there is, he's having some second thoughts. That's what he's saying. Just walk me through this again, because are we the baddies? Hint, yes, you are.
I told him, I said, sir, just stand there. Let me talk to him. I'll come talk to you. And he did. Because that happened, I called for backup. And then he was upset, rightfully.
And this is the one thing I agree with the sergeant for, is that he's saying, listen, I'm not second guessing you calling for backup. That is the right thing, because if an officer has a bad feeling, they shouldn't be second guessed for bringing in that backup, just because you never know what's going to happen. So good on the sergeant for that. It is the only thing he's done right so far that we've seen.
So it was not ever. Why are they like, was that necessary?
Why are you? You've got no self-reflection in that moment at all. Zero. Because that impression of why are they a-holes is exactly what he wanted to ask you. And you're punishing him for that. Zero self-reflection.
All right, here's your property. Do you want to sign or are you going to refuse? All right, I'm going to give you a copy of it.
You guys violated my rights. You know.
Well, we'll all be in court.
Mr. Kern was charged with obstruction, and 11 days later, the prosecutor filed a motion to dismiss the case
because it's crap. That's why that was going on.
Citing lack of evidence, in which the judge granted the dismissal.
You're probably the only good cop on the force.
I'm not trying.
No, she's not. He says, you're probably the only good cop on the force. She's not a good cop. If she went along with that ticket, notwithstanding the fact that she knew, like she had to know that was a bad ticket because she's apologizing for it, she's not a good cop. That's straight up. The other guy who we see who doesn't talk at all, also not a good cop. If you're standing by as a police officer and watching an injustice and going along with it because you're just following orders, you're not a good cop.
I'm trying to be a bad cop. I was literally not trying to even have any of this happen, and I did apologize.
You apologize, but you're following his directives.
He's a sergeant.
Yeah, but still.
He's a sergeant, and you are still beholden to a higher authority. The Constitution is a higher authority. It outranks your sergeant every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So follow the higher authority than your sergeant and do the right thing.
Like you swore oath to the Constitution.
Right.
Yes.
And you know what's right and wrong. And sometimes you got to stand up to people.
Listen.
Yes. Absolutely. This guy's got it. She doesn't. She should be listening to him right now and taking notes.
You know you swore oath.
Say again.
You swore oath.
I did.
That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, Mr. Kern.
Thank you.
I hope that you feel better, all
I'm
right?
going to the hospital.
All right. You gonna go to Metro?
Come on, right there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the video. Sadly, there's just so many of these videos out there where somebody is dealing with an officer and the officer gets a little overly keen and decides to pursue things when they really ought not to. Now, I will say, this guy engaged in risky behavior in the sense of having a confrontation with anybody, not just police officers. Having a confrontation about, I didn't like your driving, is dangerous. People get killed doing this, people get all sorts of things. So it's always something you want to think about if that's something you want to do. But he wasn't outside the law. He just ended up picking a fight with people who were willing to be outside the law. So that's a problem. Ultimately, his charges were dismissed. They say lack of evidence. Let's talk about the lack of evidence, because they had so much evidence. This isn't a situation of we don't know what happened. This is a situation of we reviewed the evidence and there's so much of it, but we can't actually find you committing an offense. So really, it's not lack of evidence, it's evidence of innocence. That's what they should put down. Now, I hope he did actually file a lawsuit, even though it might be unsatisfying. When you're fighting the government, keep in mind the government usually gets to set the rules for how you fight the government. So it's typically a very uphill battle. It's often unsatisfying, but I hope he fights and I hope he wins, because what we saw here was really aggressive behavior and an escalation that didn't need to be an escalation. So here's hoping. But let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below. I think it's a bit of a messed up one, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. If you like this video, make sure you check out these 2 other videos, as well as like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to see more content, and until next time, have a good one.
Big verdict.